Shalom, Akim, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem, Shabbat Shem, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles, elders of great millstone. Salute to the sincere Akim out there, the hopeful elect. All right, yeah, man. It looks like we approaching World War III, man. You know, of course, certain prophecies have to be fulfilled. A few prophecies, of course, which is mainly the MOTB, all right, being mandated. Okay, but all of this stuff is taking place simultaneously because as long as the economy is being destroyed here in America and cash money is becoming obsolete, it ain't gonna be too long before the digital currency through the MOTB, which is the human implantable chip, all right, is gonna be mandated. Okay, or basically, you know, a reset is gonna have to be perpetuated or initiated for white society to keep transactions and everything going, you know, to keep a steady, you know, to keep an economy going. All right. So, you know, what's new in the news right now is Ukraine just you know, attacked Russia, certain Russian planes, and, you know, causing billions of dollars in damages through these Ukrainian drones attacking Russia. All right, certain Russian aircrafts. Okay, so you know, things about to heat up, man. You know, things are about to heat up, and America is in a real quagmire right now, man. You know, even President Putin and even Donald Trump is alluding to World War III. You know, the taking World War III, possibility of World War III coming into effect. All right. So, you know, with Ukraine attacking Russia, Russia is not the type to stand down. You know, Russia is not the type to stand down, and they don't give a fuck what kind of peace terms that the United States and NATO or whatever is gonna try to negotiate. You know, all this Donald Trump trying to be the peacemaker and this, that, and the third. Russia's not trying to hear that, man. There's no way in the world Russia is gonna look weak on a global scale after Ukraine pulls some shit like that. All right, they're not gonna back down. They're talking about the U.S. might possibly, which they're gonna have to do, right, is sanction other countries that are dealing with Russia. Okay, as far as, like, you know, getting gas from Russia, or, you know, getting any whatever kind of products or things from Russia. All right, the U.S. is talking about they might have to sanction those countries to get them to stop dealing with Russia on that level. Now, I think the problem with that is that a lot of the United States allies who are a part of NATO deals with Russia to get gas and everything from Russia. You know, so all of the prophecies are just basically coming to pass, man. The scriptures tell you that the 10 horns shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. You know, that's in the book of Revelations, man. You know, and those 10 horns represents the allies of America, which is NATO. Okay, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the different countries that are allied with America. You know, through the what was it, the Treaty of Rome, I believe. Okay, showing you that this is the Roman Empire revitalized. Okay, and you know, these countries that are allied with America, they're gonna wind up turning against America. You know, it's all being set up through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, which is the spirit of prophecy. So prophecies is moving, man. It's coming to pass. Okay, so, you know, World War III is right around the corner, man. It ain't too far off. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 8, verse 13. It says, "And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe." 3 woes, all right, which represents 3 world wars. Okay, so I'll read that again. Revelations 8 and 13. "And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which are yet to sound." Okay, so that that trumpet that is yet to sound is talking about World War III. All right, whoa, whoa, whoa. World War I, World War II, World War III. Okay, so that's what things are headed to, man. You know, and you'll hear Trump make statements about World War III. You know, in press conferences and such. You know, when he's dealing with these different world leaders, like when he had to sit down with President Zelensky of Ukraine in the Oval Office. You know, he's be alluding to the fact that, hey, you're flirting with World War III. You know, if you guys don't come to a peace term, to some terms of peace, okay, in which that's not going to happen, because it's prophesied for World War III to come to pass. All right, and this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 45. It says, therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he has taken against Babylon. Babylon is America, all right? And his purpose is that he has purposed against the land of the Chaldeans, which is talking about America. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out, all right? The least of the flock shall draw them out. The least of the flock represents the welfare state of Israel and you gutter rats. Okay, who are a bunch of imposters claiming to be the Jews. All right, so you got the welfare state of Israel, which is constantly going back and forth with Iran. You know, Iran's threatening Israel, Israel's counter threatening Iran, and so forth. All right, and you know, Bibi Netanyahu right now is like a thorn in Donald Trump's ass, as well as President Zelensky, and both of them are so-called Jews. Okay, so America is caught up in a quagmire. You know, it caught up in a situation that's not easy, that's hard to get out of. All right, with two major wars, with two conflicts that's going on that can easily lead to a global war, World War III. All right, the situation going on in the Middle East between Israel and Iran, and then the situation going on in Eastern Europe between Ukraine and Russia. All right, and it's all leading back to the same countries that the Bible prophesied that's going to destroy America. You know, because you know, if America gets involved with Israel attacking Iran, Russia's going to back Iran. You know, and if Ukraine and NATO, if NATO through the U.S. tries to defend Ukraine against Russia, then Russia, no matter how you look at it, Russia's going to be involved with attacking America. So that's both ways. There's two wars being fought at the same time that America is in too deep involved. All right. So America's in the quagmire, and these things are going to lead to World War III. This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog in the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against them. Gog and Magog, all scholars agree with that. All the scholars, even Esau, his scholars can agree that Gog and Magog is Russia. It's talking about Russia, all right? You know, which when you look at the map of the Table of Nations, that land at one time belonged to Japhet, but the ones, you know, that land is still in the same region that it's always been at. When you look at a map of the Table of Nations, but the ones who are inhabiting that land today is the Edomites, the Russians. Okay, you know, and the Lord said to prophesy against them. It reads on to say, verse 3, and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. All right, so the Lord is not dealing with Russia. Okay, the Lord is not dealing with Russia. All right, because the Lord is only dealing with the nation of Israel. You know, it says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. All right. So the Lord is going to turn Russia back into that old USSR, Soviet Union spirit, man. You know, wherein all them different countries that were formerly a part of the USSR is going to be under the umbrella of Russia for protection. All right, as a unified state, a unified country, or whatever. You know, whether it's ratified or official or made globally officially accepted. All right, all those other countries are going to wind up depending on Russia for support and protection. Okay. It reads on to say, because Russia was always the most powerful state out of the Soviet Union anyway. All those other little states, Kazakhstan and, you know, Georgia, even Ukraine, okay, which was a part of the Soviet Union at one time. All right, those are all minor states under Russia. Russia was the big state, okay. All right, there was basically like a guard unto those smaller states. All right, but it reads on to say, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with buckler and shields, all of them handling swords. That's why Russia and a lot of them communist countries, right, former communist countries or whatever you want to call it, they're always parading the latest, their latest weaponry, man. Okay, and they're always, you know, talking about their latest weapons, man. These advanced nuclear missiles that they have. You know, they paraded through Moscow at the Red Square, all right, right by the Kremlin and all of that. China does the same thing. North Korea does the same thing as well. You know, once they develop one of their latest nuclear missiles, and you know, and they march their armies through the, you know, through the public, they showcase the latest nuclear technology that they have, man. All right, so that's the weaponry that they're you know, that they're proud of and that they're showcasing. All right, you know, that's the buckler and shields and the handling of the swords. All right, it says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. You know, Persia represents Iran. You know, before Iran was called Iran, it was called Persia. Okay, Iran is another way of saying Aryan. All right, so you got a lot of white boys that are skinheads and racists, bigots, neo-Nazis, and all of that. They call themselves the Aryan Brotherhood. Well, the word Aryan is where you get the word Iran from. All right, you know, because the original Aryans or whatever are really Elamites. Okay, which the Persians or the Iranians are from Elam. They're not even Ishmael. They're not even Arabs. They're actually coolies. All right, Ishmael. All right, it says Persians. It says verse 5, Ezekiel 38 and 5. It says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. So you got African nations, and all these nations are joining the BRICS nations. Russia and China are developing countries in Africa. All right, they're all in league. They're investing in these different countries for minerals and natural resources. Okay, to develop the economy of their countries. All right, it says all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarter and all his bands. Okay, so this is definitely talking about Russia, man. You know, the north quarter. All right, Russia is known for Siberia, which is, you know, one of the which is a northern state of Russia, close to the Arctic, close to the North Pole, the Arctic Circle. Okay, in the north. It says, in all his bands and many people with thee. All right, and you know, in Russia and China combined has the biggest standing army in the whole world, man. All right, you know, so they definitely outnumber the United States when it comes to, you know, their military presence. verse 7, it says, "Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company." So all these different nations that are gathered together, you know, which the BRICS nation is basically like a band of different nations that are you know, that are opposing the Western nations, mainly NATO, all right, in the United States. It reads on to say, "That are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." All right. So yeah, so they're gonna protect their investment, man. You know, that's why you know, the scriptures say the least of the flock shall draw them out. If Israel attacks Iran and the US gets involved, then that's gonna lead to Russia and China and other powerful countries, right? Attacking Israel and attacking America. Okay, and if this thing gets out of hand, because Russia's definitely going to retaliate on Ukraine, they're going to take over Ukraine. They're not going to stop at trying to take over Ukraine. It's not a peace term, a G8 summit meeting, or whatever you can do that Donald Trump can do to quench that fire that's going on between those two countries in Eastern Europe, Russia and Ukraine. All right, that's why Trump is calling Vladimir Putin crazy and this, that, and the third. All right, but on his campaign, he was sitting there talking about how, you know, he's gonna, you know, stop the war as soon as he gets in office and this, that, and the third. And if I was the president instead of Joe Biden, this war would have never happened. And this shit is bound to happen, man. This prophecy, man. Okay, America's gonna be destroyed. Bottom line, according to the Bible. All right, so I'm gonna end it on that note. Say shalom while we're rocking to you brothers out there, man. Continue to fight the good fight, man. Stay prayed up, stay in the faith, and you know, once again, Barak thumb to all you brothers out there. Shalom.